Welcome back everybody to another video. We're going to be talking about my first impressions of Thorn and Liberty today. I did post a video of an hour of the beginning gameplay, and I play a little bit off recording. I got to mostly level 15, so whatever I say today is going to be an early opinion on how I feel about the game going forward, and what I want it to change, and what stuff that I feel like is going to break or be good for the game. So whatever I say is going to be my opinion, and hopefully you guys take it with a grain of salt because I only ever got to maybe level 15 max. I did try a lot of the systems a little bit, but I know that a bunch of the systems are built for like PvP and late game and dungeons and stuff, which I haven't even touched yet. So everything is gonna be super early impressions, and I'm gonna be compared to other games and what they do well and what they do pretty bad. This is gonna be a little different of a video because I can't record this while the game is live, so I can't really record over the game being open. So I'm gonna post a bunch of different clips and stuff I took when I saw something interesting, and hopefully it explains what I'm talking about currently. So let's start. Let's talk about the story. Of course, it's a Korean game, so the story is never really that great in terms of like um MMOs like this. It's kind of old school like stories doesn't really technically matter. There's just one bad guy and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna talk about it too much. That's the only thing that's weird about it. I keep saying is like how come I was chosen as a star child when I got hit by a necromancer's bolt. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how it killed the person I was that was trying to protect me, but in turn it turned me into the chosen one. I don't get it. Maybe I didn't read the story that well, but it is kind of weird. Besides that, I don't have much to say about story. Story is a typical MMO story. Um, Pretty shit. Let's move on. Let's move on to the art style and animation stuff like that, which is pretty good. I think the combat animations and stuff like that are great. I think did a good job on making animations fluid. Um, but there's other problems besides that, and and the animations and stuff can't overcome the other things that I'm going to talk about later, in terms of the combat system, in terms of the gameplay and stuff like that. What I feel about progression is more into the progression side. There's a bunch of different quests. There's one main story quest and there's a bunch of side quests, and then there's a bunch of like open world quests that you can interact with. There's a bunch of like tasks you gotta do. It's kind of hard to keep track of everything. As you can see, if I look at any of my clips that I post here, you probably see my quest log is kind of full, and it's like really hard to see where anything is. Which is what it is, right? It's an MMO game that has a lot of tasks and stuff like that. I think this one is a little too much. There's so much stuff you can do, which sometimes is a good thing, but in this case, it's kind of bad because you don't have a direct focus on what you're trying to do to progress, and then the systems probably should be introduced a little bit later, when you get to a point where you're pretty invested in the game and you start doing like other side stuff that's not involving into the story. Some people might like it. I don't really like it that much. I like to be able to get to the end game as quick as possible. So we could differ in that sense. And I feel like if the main story quest should be the route towards that without having to do other side stuff or too much other side stuff. Like one or two things like per like 10 levels maybe is good, but like I feel like this one focuses on too much on the side stuff and less on the main story, which I'm not really there for the story. It's just like I want to progress and like, level up to get to the end game, do the dungeons and stuff like that. And the whole time I was playing, I kept following the story. I kept doing side stuff. Wasn't able to get to a point where I was able to do a dungeon. Of course, couldn't play that much, but I would like to have been able to hit a dungeon, do a boss, and see mechanics. But again, I just the UI and stuff like this is crazy. Too many words, a lot of reading, and I don't usually do that, which is a detriment to me sometimes. But in terms of MMOs, like early game stuff is not really that important. In the end, all be all. And I feel like focusing a character's progression toward to get to the end game relatively quickly while giving to a good experience is what I think they should probably focus on. And all these side stuff you have to do is kind of crazy. Yeah. Let's move on to most of the gameplay of the game. It's an MMO, so there's not much to talk about besides comparing it to other MMOs. In this case, this game is a little bit more old school MMO, not like WoW kind. Well, I guess it deviates from WoW, in terms of like tab targeting and stuff. I'll get into that a little bit more later because the combat is kind of crazily different in a way, and I heard that they're gonna change it again because I heard that they changed it before, and now they're gonna change it again with all the feedback and stuff. I don't know how they're gonna do that, but it's the I'll talk about combat in a little bit. Just talk about the gameplay for now. So gameplay, typical MMO, old school MMO. If you ever played like old like Korean MMOs, it's just like that. It's not like Final Fantasy. Like they have like a set route to do. This one's like you got to go out and do everything. Not everything, but like there's a lot of stuff for you to do in the world, and like this is more like you are exploring, which is a good thing. And in this case, the world is ginormous. Okay, the map is ginormous. Jesus Christ. And I feel like it's just trying to go back to the era where they emphasize more on exploring than just focusing on just the story and get to the end game, which is good in a sense. But this game was advertised as like a straight up PvP, focused on a lot of bosses. In the trailers, they show like amazing world-ending bosses and stuff like that. And I want them to focus more on getting people to that point a little quicker. And of course, I can't really say all that much about it because this is only the first like 20 levels of the game, but I think there's just too much stuff for people to focus on or people to like do, and which is again, it's sometimes good, sometimes bad. I think in this case it's just so much that it might be turning a little bit bad. Of course, in my opinion, of course, if you like it, I can't say much about it, right? Let's move on to the meat of the thing. Meat of this game is the problem that everyone's talking about. It is the combat. I had a really hard time getting used to the combat. I can tell that it's going to take a bit, but there's so many different problems with the combat that it's hard to pinpoint where I should focus my like impressions on. But let's talk about the problems I think that I've seen. I'll post some clips right here just to show you like what I feel like was a problem, and I'll talk over it a little bit. So first of all, I think tab targeting or the targeting system is kind of nuts in what it is right now. I had a problem with like understanding that there's tab targeting and then there's focused tab targeting in a sense. In other MMOs, you will typically use the E skill, which their default E skill that they put as like an auto attack, right? But in this game's case, you have to press the button when you're targeting the mob, and that locks you on. But it's not really a hard lock on, which is weird. Um, but also it just doesn't interact very well with what you're trying to do. So let's say you're walking up to an enemy, right? And you tap target to them. You're not going to automatically start attacking them because the game doesn't actually know you're trying to focus that target. So when you tap target to them, you also have to press E to actually focus target them, which then your character start auto attacking. And then every ability that you used after that, like their one to 10, 1 to 0, will hit that target. But the concept of tab targeting and also you have to focus tab targeting, it's a little weird. I feel like um I think the biggest thing they can change is that even if your skill is on cooldown and you press that skill, you should start auto attacking it, right? So like in this case, like let's say my one skill is off on cooldown, and I'm targeting with a tab target, and I press one, it won't start like focus targeting it. That's all I can say. That's what I think it is. It'll just like sit there and do nothing until you press the E or another skill is off cooldown. So I feel like any skill you press when it's off cooldown, you should automatically focus target it and start auto attacking, right? In this case, it doesn't do that, and it's really funky. And it took me a while to understand it in my head. It felt like tap targeting doesn't really target them unless you actually start pressing E, which is like your focus target, which is kind of weird. I had a problem with it in my 1 hour playthrough. When my first hour of playing it, and I talked about it a bunch. And at the end of the video, I kind of got more used to it, but I think it is very jarring, and yeah, I feel like that's the biggest problem that they can fix, and I hope they do because they're saying they're going to change the combat. So anything I say right now about the combat is probably going to be changed, or maybe not. I don't know. They changed it a bunch of times, and it's still like this, and it's might be a problem. Another thing about the targeting system is that when you have multiple targets, it gets even funkier because like let's say you did do all the things, you tab targeted, and you also focus targeted on one mob, but another mob gets too close to you, and when you're pressing a skill, your character decides to swap to that character, even though you're still focus targeting on that one character, and let's say like you're trying to focus, it's trying to like kill this unit, you kill this monster as quick as possible, but then one of your abilities is turn 90 degrees and hit something else, and then you you're on cooldown for a lot of your stuff because you expected that to kill a mob. I feel like that's gonna be a big problem and it make people more frustrated when they die to that. They'd be like, I'm trying to focus this target, but then my character just decides to hit another target when I'm not focus targeting it. So why did you make the system like this where you have to focus target something to actually start attacking it? But when you're focus targeting it, you can still attack something else when you're not trying to. It is weird. I don't get it. I don't get it. I feel like that this big problem of this game is like their combat system. They keep altering it and altering it. I think it got to the point where it's just straight up like unplayable, kind of almost. And you just like hard to understand what the thought process is when designing this combat system, which hopefully they'll fix um as soon as they can. But uh, I kind of doubt that. This game has been running through the gauntlet of changing combat systems and stuff like that constantly. So it's so I have really low expectations for what the next time they pull out an open beta or a beta, but hopefully they hear the community and they change it. Um, and then one more thing about the combat is if you're playing a melee character, it's pretty much all bad. Uh, Unlike in like other games like in Final Fantasy or like WoW, the biggest like people can understand is that your range is so short as a melee that um you just feel like you can't move. Let's say like um there's a mob right in front of me, like just like 1 meter away. Let's say I'm out attacking it. I'm trying to strafe away from uh an ability that they're using. Let's say I'm trying to dodge to the left or dodge to the right. If I step a little bit away from him at all my abilities doesn't work. Like I can't use any abilities because I'm just that like I'm just 2 meters instead of 1 meter from the mob, and I just like sit there and do nothing until I realize that I'm too far away and I need to walk back closer. And this is not like a super far distance to say like in like WoW and Final Fantasy. There's like a big distance before you start like unable to target with abilities. But in this one, it's like 2 steps back, and then you just like your character's like, oh, where's the monster? I'm just gonna sit here and do nothing while you're pressing buttons. I'm not gonna even walk towards the monster, even though that's a kind of a bad thing to do. But at least like if your range, this range that you set for melees is that short, then you have to make that like distinction of your character has to move forward to attack, right? But you don't do it, you just sit there and do nothing because they try to make it so that more you're more like in charge of your character, but then like in that case, like give us more range as a melee. It kind of pissed me off when I was like fighting a monster and then my character just like does nothing, and then I'm like sitting there like why, and then I realized like oh, I'm 2 meters away instead of 1 meter away, while the monster is still hitting me because their range is a little farther than me. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really have like a dash towards it besides like a blink because like my current what weapons I ended up using was like a claymore and like a dagger, which is pretty cool because you have like a strong claymore and you have like mobility of like a dagger. Um, and yeah, I think that a rehaul of the combat system is necessary, but I feel like they are a little too far along to be able to do that, which is going to be a problem because they're just going to make they're going to change it and it's still going to have like aspects of the old system and it's going to be add a new system. I just feel like they didn't change a small amount of stuff to make it good, and well, yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But besides that, the good thing about the combat system, I like the ability to hold two weapons and switch between them to have more abilities. I think that's pretty cool. It provides like a kind of interesting gameplay where you have like you have like a straight up claymore, and then you have like if you want to put on like a mage weapon, you have like a range, or if you put on a bow or like a dual crossbows or daggers. I do see a problem in the fact that um you do have stats as a character as you progress, and you put stats on like strength, constitution, vitality, and stuff like that, like all the old school games, as mentioned before. And the only problem with that is like if you're investing into the claymore, which is strength, you're not gonna be able to use the mage staff because it's gonna be uh, not as effective, and you're probably just gonna try to use both strength weapons like a claymore and like a sword and shield like that, and then of course like daggers you want to use like dex and like yeah, it's like if you want to do that weapon system where you can swap between them and you make them both, you have to make them both equivalent in strength when you progress. Um, make it interesting because if you have stats like that, like if you have like pre-made, not pre-made, like stats that your character, like the player can put points into, you're just gonna make it so like one a set a set of weapons together is gonna work way better than this set of weapons that are unconventional, and it just like restricts gameplay, which I feel like they should also try to focus on. Maybe get rid of the stat sticks or like the stat like uh being to put in more stats to a certain stat and more focused on like weapon strengths in these terms of like combinations wise. Uh, but they could have a system for that later on in the game. I don't know because I never got to the end game. So this is what I feel like is going to be a problem later if they don't have a system for that. Because like every other game like that try to do this always breaks because like oh I want to use a sword, but then I also want to use the mage staff, so I want to be like a mage like a sword caster, like kind of character. But then you have stats where you're only putting in strength, so your sword becomes powerful, and your magic abilities aren't going to become that powerful. And then if you ever like decides to put half of it in strength, half of it in intelligence, you're just like making yourself weaker in terms of other players that put in all strength and then have two strength weapons when they're equipped. So hopefully they figure that out. If they have a system like that, then ignore what I just said. Um, um, and we'll see when people get to end game. So yeah, let's move on. That's the biggest like combat is the biggest thing, and I feel like they have heard a lot about it. So I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna like beat it like beat it to death, right? Because like everyone knows like the combat has to be changed, and yeah. And so my minor gripes about I have is that Navi that shows up in the story. Oh my god, that thing was annoying as heck. It just like says happy. Okay, good thing it goes away eventually. I think it was supposed to be a sad moment, but I didn't really pay attention. So because I was so annoyed a bit, I was like, "You're on the screen. I'm just gonna skip you." And then it disappeared one time. I was like, "Okay, well, it's gone." So I mean, it's not a big deal. But the first like hour of the game, you're gonna be inundated with like a bunch of like weird noises over and over again, and then it got really annoying. But yeah. Other things I like about the game, I think let's just go overall stuff. Fast traveling is good. They have a bunch of fast traveling points, and it's good. Besides that, I think interact traveling in this game they need to focus. I think they need to focus a little bit more on. I feel like the character change the characters changing into an animal is a cool idea, but I feel like people would like to see their character more, and mounts are probably a better way to travel than turning into like a wolf or something. Like it's cool, the gimmick is cool, I would say, but I would like to be able to mount and see my character as well. Hopefully they do have that. I didn't get to the point of that, but I just felt like the only way I could move around was turning into an eagle or turning into a wolf or panther. And I think they should dial that down a little bit because yes, those things are cool. You're gonna get more like animals you can turn into, and it's gonna be kind of cool. But like focus on like your character because when you're playing MMO, you're focusing on how your character is, how powerful your character is, how it looks, like that. And if you every single time you just turn into an animal to travel, that's mostly what you're gonna be doing. Besides this combat, right? Because the map is so big, I think making mounts is probably better than turning into an animal, which they probably do have, and I haven't got to that point yet. So if that that does exist, then my bad. But right now, I wish I turned a little bit less. But yeah, besides that, I think there's a lot of different bugs I ran into, and some minor annoyances. One major thing is like I couldn't jump over a 5 foot wall as my character, and it's like so old school, like that you have to walk around. That got a little pissed off, and I was like, "What is this?" Not like pissed off. It's just like, why can't I do that? Like, this is like so like 2000s MMO that it's still like this, and like you don't have a system to climb over walls or anything. It was I could also find the clip of that and put it in here, but if I don't find it, then just take my word for it. But yeah, I think there's a bunch of different bugs as well, and they should probably focus on that too. This game, as I said, this game has been out in Korea for quite a while now, probably like 2 or 3 years, I think, maybe 1 year. Um, but it's that like these problems shouldn't exist like now coming to the coming to NA. Like they had years to more perfect this, and the state as it is, and now with all the bugs and stuff, I feel like they're just trying to get a cash grab out of the NA community and then move on to a different game or something. But yeah. So what do I? And let's move on to the a topic that's not really that important currently, which is the pricing. It is a free to play MMO and it's a Korean based MMO. So what I expect, because right now the cash shop doesn't have much in terms of like progression, help you progress or anything. It's more cosmetics, which is good. I don't know what I didn't really read much on what they're planning to do for the NA version of it, but I feel like since it's the Korean MMO, eventually, even if they say they're not going to put any pay to win stuff into the game, I think eventually they will, because in Korea that's a big part of like their gaming community is that purchasing stuff is very common there, and they're gonna probably trickle down some pay to win stuff into this game in an NA1, even if they say like they're not going to. It's inevitable. If you look at any past game, any past like Korean MMO or any past like NA westernized MMO, but they say they're not gonna do pay to win, and they're just gonna trickle down like pay to win stuff eventually. But right now, they haven't put that in the shop because I know that people will talk about it. I'm just gonna talk about it early and say like just be wary of like investing too much in the game, and then eventually they're gonna put like pay to win stuff to get like into the game, and then you're gonna be pissed off. So it's a little warning. Um, Currently there is nothing like that. This is more cosmetics and like animals morphing, and maybe the mount. I didn't really read much about it. I just glimpsed it before I had to go, and yeah, pricing. I expect it to be pay to win. You're gonna be paying a lot because it's a free to play game, and hopefully you guys don't get baited if you do. Yeah, warned you. That's good. I guess overall, I think I talked about the game a lot already. Overall, I think about this game. I think it's very unacceptable that it's like this when it's been out for quite a while in Korea. They had years to or year or years to fix these problems before coming to NA. Um, and I'm pretty sure when people played it in Korea, they complained about the combat a lot, and they tried to change it once before, and then yeah, this game has been in a rough road to where it is today. So let me explain to you what I heard about it before. Before it was more like a MOBA game where you just like press autoplay and then it just does everything for you. It farms for you, it just does quests for you and stuff like that. And it was kind of everyone complained about that, and they were like, "Why are we playing this game when I just play like another gacha game, something like that?" And or I mean, if you're actually playing the game, that there's just the game just farms and does everything for me, right? Then they changed that to the new current system, not current system, to another system where they removed all that, removed all auto traveling and all that stuff, and then they just make people focus on the game itself. And then it got a little better outcome, but then people complain about the combat, and then the combat, and then they were like, okay, fine, we're gonna change the combat. They're gonna change the combat to what it is right now, I think, and that's when I really kind of stopped following the game. I didn't realize the game came out this weekend until I saw some people stream it on Twitch. Um, and then I started playing it. Right. I feel like the combat is the same as what they decided to change it to, and it's still pretty shit. As per what everyone says, that it and me, my experience of of the combat is kind of I wouldn't say there's bits there that are good, but then the whole system should be overhauled. I think. It's going to be wild what they think about next, but hopefully they do change it, and I hopefully I can play this game when it actually comes out and it be great, right? I don't want the game to be bad. I am craving for a good MMO. That's not WoW or Final Fantasy because I've played that a shit ton. So hopefully this game does fix all its problems. Heard I saw like the PvP stuff that they're trying to focus on, which looks pretty cool. Even though I haven't done it yet, and I want to be able to do those things, but like the core of the game has to be there for me to actually invest my time into. But yeah, overall, I think the game is pretty low in the score. I probably like 4 out of 10 right now. If they change all the stuff that I have gripes with, I think it will be good. The animations are already there, so just stop doing that. Just focus on combat. Combat is the most important thing in any game, um, like this. And if it doesn't work out, then it's gonna be dead on arrival. But yeah, so 4 out of 10. Hope you guys tried that game out as well. If you guys have anything you want to say about how you felt about the game, I implore you to write in the comments down below, and I'll respond to it. I'm not saying that you not anyone's gonna like the game. If you guys like the game, then oh my god, if you guys like the game, then yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy playing it. But currently, what it is right now, I probably won't be replaying it too much. But yeah, if you like the video, please drop me a subscribe and a like, and I'll see you guys back here for another video. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.